what's going on, everybody? It's been quite some time, but we are back. We are part of the Press for Time Gaming Podcast. My name is Benny Rose, if you don't know, and I'm here with my lovely, super cool, rad dude, Tyler Nethers.
Hello. That is a fantastic intro.
Thank you, man. This is awesome in many ways, as we've said. It has been a long time since we've done the show, but the biggest thing, it's been a long time since you and I have been on a call like this.
Yeah.
So, formally, miss you, dude. Really hope everything is well. Your house is lovely and beautiful. For
Thank you.
those that check out our video, you'll get to see us in person. This is probably one of the few times we've done this.
Yeah.
I think this is something that we're experimenting with, and hopefully, we can bring in some visual podcasting along with our traditional format that we have. But before we dive into what the show is about today, I wanted to take a minute to talk about just something that we might be doing a little different. As I mentioned, this is traditionally a gaming podcast from Gaming Age. It's a site that both of us write for, and we've decided to maybe increase the content that we do, knowing that we're more than just gaming lovers. We're into a lot of different things. Tyler loves his stuff. I love my stuff. From the back, you can tell I'm a huge toy collector. I've been for many years, but I think the COVID kind of raised my insulin level a bit too high, and I went a little crazy. And my collection has exceedingly grown, and I love to talk about it. So it's another way for me to kind of share that type of stuff. But the content at its core will still be focused on the name, which is Press for Time.
hmm
The reason that that exists is we are, adults that have families, kids, responsibilities, jobs, don't always have the time that we would love to be able to do what we love, but we love to try to make the time and to talk about it and share our love with everybody out there. So, Tyler, I'd like you to take it away, say anything you'd like to say, and then we can discuss what this lovely show is about.
Yeah, dude, you are not kidding about COVID changing the way you collect things. Man, my movie collection has exploded during COVID because you can't do anything. It's like, man, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll watch another movie. I'll buy 10 more movies. So, I'm pushing up on like 2,000 Blu-rays and 4Ks right now, which is
I mean, and I have to commend you on that because if you think about it, we do live in a world where the majority of movie collectors don't collect physical.
I know. Can't stand it.
My co-host from another podcast, Media Masterminds, Paul, Legend Pop, has also, for the most part, doesn't really buy physical. I'm very limited here and there, but I'm kind of itching more to going back because we're seeing a lot of this nonsense, which can be a
Yeah.
segue into a whole nother show.
I know.
And
Yeah, you're not kidding.
but like studios are just removing stuff from their platforms from streaming, and
Yeah.
it's insane. So keep up with the physical.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
mean, it's the only
that's
way. I mean,
awesome.
obviously, at some point it'll degrade and the disc won't work anymore, but probably not within my lifetime. So sorry, kids, you're going to inherit some movies that probably don't work anymore. But I mean, I never have to worry about can I find this to watch. If it's something I want to watch, I've got it. I go to the shelf and my shelf's alphabetized because I'm insane. So I go through this is what I want to watch. Boom, out there it is. We can watch it. I don't have to hunt through 37 streaming services and try to find who owns the rights to this now. So
and
I
and that's it's so true. And for me, I always get the text message from the missus. What platform is this streaming on?
yeah,
Because our son wants to watch something, and then I have to do the research, and it's just like, why does everything have to be so problematic?
yep,
Like the idea of the streaming platform was great on paper, and for a while it was awesome. And I jumped late into like redeeming digital codes when I was always giving them away to people
yeah,
like Paul. And then I started collecting and started. I'm like, oh, maybe I should save them. But then, like again, you start seeing these studios removing stuff and having limited rights and things like that. And even when you buy stuff on Voodoo, it's not
yeah.
yours.
It's not
You
yours.
think it's yours, but
Yeah, Or
That's a
Amazon is a
scary
big
thing.
one. People have bought, seasons
Yes.
of TV shows or purchased movies. And then Amazon's just like, hey, sorry, we don't host this anymore. And they're like, wait a minute, no, I purchased this. And they're like, well, no, you purchased a digital license that was only valid for however long we were able to host it for. So that's somebody that could have paid, $20 to buy a movie recently, after it came out. And then all of a sudden it's gone and they can't get a refund. You don't get that money back. I understand it's only $20, but
It adds up if you
problem,
if you're
man.
buying a lot of
Yeah.
that stuff too.
Yeah. So, I kind of run the middle. So I buy all physical, but then if what I buy comes with a digital copy, I do redeem it and I share
Right.
my digital library with people so people can watch what I have. It's only
Right.
a small portion. I think probably 300-400 of the movies that I have digital codes because I buy a lot of Criterions that don't come with digital or anything like that. But
Right.
yeah,
No, fair enough.
it's a good
That's an awesome
mix.
thing, but like you said, it's dangerous.
It
And
is.
COVID made us go kind of all in on a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's hard to walk that back because I mean we're still technically in COVID. I
yeah,
said years ago when we talked, what probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that this wasn't going to change.
agreed.
It wasn't going to go away. It was just going to become a thing that we always dealt with, and the way we
Yeah,
dealt with it would obviously change. I mean, we're clearly not in lockdown anymore. Everything's open. People don't wear masks anymore, but it's still a thing. It's killing people all day, every day.
yeah.
So it's been
And the
hard to
last and the
kind of
last 2 months
shake
have
that
not been good
mindset.
to most of us. If you think about
No.
it, everybody's sick, not sick. What
Mm.
is it? Is it COVID? If it's not COVID, but
Well, and that's the other
obviously,
thing.
yeah,
Everybody was so careful about not catching COVID. No one's getting natural immunity to the nasty shit that is out there already. So everyone, these past two flu seasons have been horrible for people.
agreed.
Which
Yeah,
I mean, there's no right answer. It's better to avoid the COVID, but a lot of people are getting, feeling the effects of that distance
of
now that
everything
we're
when you
we're
think
getting
about
back
it.
together.
Agreed.
Yep,
Well,
it's a rough
hopefully
time.
we're at the lights at the end of the tunnel where we can, you know, move on to the at least this part of you and I visiting in person
Yeah,
because
no
we
kidding.
haven't done that in all the years we've been friends.
Nope.
That's a huge factor. But that day will come, and I look forward to that. So,
Hmm.
but why are we really here today? Because I mean, the good news is since we're going to be trying to get back to doing this, we can have a lot more of these awesome conversations. But today we wanted to have the show dedicated to something very special. You want to
No,
talk about that?
very special. We're going to talk about Dead Space. We're going to talk about the
Dead
remake.
Space I was going to say from
Yeah,
2008.
2008. I mean, technically, we're going to talk about that too, but yes, the Dead Space remake that came out this month. Holy shit. Has
Yeah,
there
that's
ever, Benny, has there ever in your mind been a better remake of a game?
it's really tough.
I know.
And I'm biased to certain degrees,
Hmm.
but at the same time, I feel that my experience and my time with Dead Space versus my other game that I would mention, uh, there was a lot more of like, oh my God, this is amazing,
Hmm.
like seamless. Oh, this was terrible before. This is awesome now.
Yeah.
That elevates this game on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
But for those that are not familiar, my number one game for best remake outside of Dead Space was Resident Evil 2. It was a game changer for me because it's a game that I went back to play so much. And I think that's the main difference here too is Dead Space is very near and dear to your heart.
Oh, yeah.
I love Dead Space. I mean, I always thought about it, but it wasn't a game that I went back to a lot. That's the
Right.
weird scenario here. And like I had a metal band at one point. I named a song Dead Space dedicated to the game and like
Hmm.
there was a lot of love for it. But again, like I was like I was so satisfied with what I played, and it just didn't make me go back for whatever weird reason. I know
Yeah.
like certain games we go back. Resident Evil, I always go back, you
Hmm.
know, and that was my differentiation. Like as far as the experience here was just playing the Dead Space remake. I'm like, oh my god! Like every 2 seconds, I'm like smiling,
Yeah.
and it's just different. And it might be the next gen consoles just like elevating certain aspects of the game,
To an
But just the
extent, for
game,
sure.
the game at the core is just at the foundations. It's there
Yeah.
at every level.
It's still one of the few games that I considered, I considered it a perfect game when it came out. We'll talk about the asteroid section, which was a piece of shit, but the game itself was still a perfect game. Like that was my anybody that knows me knows Dark Souls. That's my thing. FromSoft games, that's my thing. But Dead Space was my game before that. I 100% had Dead Space 1 on the Xbox 360. Like, got all the achievements, did all the crazy difficulties, got the foam finger at the end. You go through one shot and everybody just bang, bang, and everybody exploded. Like, I did everything in that game. Dead Space 2 came out. I did the exact same thing. I played it. I probably played Dead Space 2 30 times. Got all
Wow.
the achievements, played it over and over and over and over again. I like Dead Space 3. Don't shoot me.
I don't dislike it. I
I
don't
liked it.
remember it as much, but I know that it was a major departure for a
Exactly.
lot of
And
people.
that's the big thing. I played Dead Space 1, Dead Space 2 over and over and over. I think I played Dead Space 3 3 times, maybe, just to get all
That
the
was the one that
achievements
incorporated
again.
co-op, right?
Yeah, it incorporated co-op, and it was much more of it kind of went the way Resident Evil went. It was an action game. Dead Space 3 was the Resident Evil 5. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that changed everything.
yeah, you've got almost unlimited ammo. It was still kind of scary, but it wasn't the claustrophobic tight corridors. You could enter. You could run, which you can do in the remake, which I like, but it's still not like crazy fast. You had
He's
virtually
he's
unlimited.
hustling. He's hustling,
He's
but he's
moving
struggling.
exactly.
Like you probably probably considering the weight of the suit and stuff like that
Yeah.
because it looks like he's struggling along, but it's like he
Yep.
wants to move faster.
And the necromorphs are faster than you are, even when you're running.
Yeah, yeah,
So
true
you're going to
story.
get got. But Dead Space 3, you could sprint, turn around, unload. Then, as soon as they got close, turn around, sprint, turn around, unload. And you were fighting just hordes of them. It took away all of the survival aspects of survival horror. And it just became action horror. It was
So
good.
it became Lost Planet 2 then.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much so. Man,
That
Lost
was
Planet was
that
such a good game.
first game was
First one,
amazing. Yeah,
man.
as I was playing Dead Space, I'm like, can we get Lost Planet
Yeah.
like this,
Right. Motive.
please?
Motive.
Oh, Motive, you
Lost Planet.
listening?
Yeah.
Please.
I'm gonna
One,
email this to you.
two, and three. Get out of here.
No, no, no. One.
Especially three. Did you ever play
No.
three?
I think
I
I
put it
played.
on. I'm like, it's first person. I turned it
No,
off.
I think I played the. Didn't they have a demo on like the Xbox
Maybe.
One back in the day? Maybe.
Oh
I
my god, it
maybe it was
was
still three. I don't
trash.
remember. I feel like I played a demo.
It was 360 because it was 360 PS3, but
Yeah, I feel like
it
I
was
played a
trash
demo,
panda.
and it was just abysmal.
I don't know what they were thinking. Two was okay, like as a
I got through two. I
if
finished two.
you made it a different name,
Yes.
because it was like multiplayer focused again.
Yeah.
But we obviously we can go on a different tangent with that. But
Yeah. We're off
yeah,
track.
so yeah,
Yes.
Dead Space One is really the foundation, and that's what people remember. And
Yeah.
I think two has a very long lasting impression too, because that's when we really dove more into the lore and we
Yeah.
got a bit more into Isaac State. I don't know how we're gonna do like spoilers if that really like do we want to be
There's really
careful
no
because
spoilers. Yeah.
it's like if you
Spoiler
played the
warning.
game
We're gonna
before,
spoil 2008 and 2010 games. Sorry.
there you go.
Yeah. Stop now. But yeah, you really don't. And it's one of the big things I love about this remake is all the lore that they have in the audio files and the text files and how they really dive into what the marker is and how the Church of Unitology has affected Isaac's life from the very beginning, and how it puts strain on his relationship with Nicole and like the reason why, because it wasn't ever really made clear to my knowledge in my memory of the first game why he and Nicole kind of had that little bit of conflict going on, that's present
Right.
throughout the interactions. But this one makes it very clear and it lays out, hey, religion is the problem with all of this. Basically, if you boil it down, it's religion and capitalism, and when religion and capitalism collide, it's a bad day for everybody. But that's getting preachy about the message, but the actual lore and
But
the
but it
information
makes
that they
sense.
give
Yeah.
you, yeah, the information they give you in the remake gives you, if this is the only one you play, if you never played two, never played three, this is your first Dead Space, it gives you all the context that Dead Space 2 and Dead Space 3 gave you if you hunt for it, if you actually read the logs and pay attention, which I
Right.
recommend you do. Best audio logs, best text logs that I can think of.
Agreed. There, everything, almost everything is interactive.
Yeah.
And for me, like the biggest, I guess, connective tissue here is the single camera.
Yeah.
How we focus our attention on that third person aspect of Isaac, and we do not deter from that throughout
Mm-mm.
the entire game when we have our interactions with, the audio and the video logs. It's all in front of us. We don't have to worry about chintzy CGI, like remaking videos, things like
Nope.
that. We don't have to make it look like an action sequence. Everything is just there and you're constantly immersed. And I was like such a sucker for that. And as I was telling you earlier, like I finished my first playthrough and I had to save like right around chapter 11 before where it's like you can't continue any
Right,
further.
right, right.
And I went back to do like the side missions because the side missions focus on story. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there was certain aspects you can like gain access to other doors and stuff, but it was
Yeah.
like follow you can learn more about, Nicole's side of the story. And that was,
Yep.
I thought, really, really crucial.
Yeah.
And then,
And you
learning
never
more
had
about the
that in the
doctor.
original.
Exactly. And seeing the video logs in the rooms that kind of they essentially reenact everything that
Yeah.
happened.
Such a
Awesome.
great way to do that.
Yeah, and it's all in real time. 3D audio, incredible,
Mm-hmm.
incredible. I didn't get to play too much with headphones, but even outside of that, him running and when you're in a panic and you're doing quick turns, his heart rate
The heart.
increases.
Oh my God. It's
I was
such a
like, and then
cool
you start
touch.
aiming, it gets even crazier. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, like such
And
little
it's just,
touches.
and it's subconscious, but I've found myself, when I'm playing and his heart's speeding up, even if something's not happening, I start getting anxious. It's like,
Right.
oh, I gotta, okay, let me relax my shoulders. Let's chill out. He's nervous, but he gets nervous randomly to make you nervous. And it's just such, again, it's a touch. It's a little bit of attention to detail. It's such a small thing, but it builds that feeling of the immersion and the loneliness. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Like, yeah, there's
Yeah.
other people on the ship, and yeah, you can talk to them and you will occasionally spend time with them, but only very, very briefly. You are alone.
Yeah.
And the game really nails that. And by not cutting to like a standard cutscene, and you're not safe when you're watching the video files. You can get attacked. You have to pay attention. Bless you. Bless you.
I muted so you can keep
No, no,
talking.
yeah, you're
Sorry.
good. You um you have to pay attention to what's happening, but you're also still alone. Like it doesn't give you a breather. It doesn't throw you into a cutscene that's like, okay, I can relax. You're tense. It's like, oh my God, yes, I'm watching this, but I'm also paying attention because the ship is still making sounds. You can still
Right.
hear things scuttling through the vents. You can hear the vents running. And if something comes to attack you, it will attack you still.
And the funny part that I was thinking about too is like we've grown, I feel, accustomed to survival horror type games that have safe spaces,
Oh
areas
yeah.
where you can breathe. Guess what? Even the rooms that have your shops and your benches are not safe.
No.
And I don't remember it being like that in the 2008 version. I feel like when you were in a room where you had those options, usually I like the enemies didn't spawn. Clearly not the case here. And I was pleasantly surprised, semi frustrated, but it reminds you like you got to stay on your toes. Like just when
Yeah.
you think everything is safe, you know.
Oh look, I have a visitor. Give me just a moment.
Yep. So, another really big thing I was thinking about was just, the as cliche as it sounds, the term dead space, how
Yeah.
we get the name, but the moments when you're in deep space and there's nothing.
Nope.
I love that sound. And,
Hmm.
you know, I remember it being good before, but it's just the flight controls feel like they were drastically improved. That's
Yes.
one. The forgive me for this because I didn't really like try to learn the controls. So I just kind of like haphazardly kept focusing on going forward and up, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like the end tail of the game that I realized that the L and R sides
Yep.
tilt
You
you.
could,
So
yeah,
I
you
kept
could,
going upside down. I'm like, what is going on? I'm so disoriented right now.
yep.
But yeah, the whole idea of like how the word dead space, how they speak to not only, you know, the relationship to the story at the end of the game, but the atmosphere in itself is just like this game gives you that way more than I felt I saw in the original.
Yeah.
But you and I talked about the big difference with you and I with this experience is I remember certain aspects of the game. Like I remember when the tentacle comes out of the wall and
Hmm.
pulls. I remember that. I remember finding everybody in the crew quarters, sacrifice and self-sacrifice and all that stuff. But I didn't remember like just certain environments and certain things like how they, and it gave me a better appreciation because it felt newer.
Yeah.
But like I wanted to ask you your thoughts as somebody that really, really remembers the original game. Like you briefly had mentioned offline that there are a lot of changes that you saw so far from what your playthrough is.
Yeah.
Like, can you talk about a couple of those things that like stand out that are different
Yeah.
that you caught?
So, I'll actually step back a little bit before my youngest came in and interrupted me. Um, the the safe rooms, there weren't safe rooms in the original. You still, to my knowledge, you still can get attacked.
Okay,
That's not a difference because I played through the first half of the game, like the original, to get ready for the remake. I booted it back up and I ran through to like chapter 6 or chapter 7 on my Xbox Series S because you've got it with Game Pass or whatever. You can
right.
play the original version because I wanted to be able to compare a little closer, and that's not so much of that stays the same to my knowledge.
Okay,
Um,
fair enough.
but we talked about it offline before this, but the big one of the biggest changes is the asteroid sequence. That was such a pain in the ass for so many people in the first game, and it was such an out of place element in a game that was so carefully crafted. It is exactly what it takes away exactly what we were just talking about. You switch to first person and you're in this gun turret and you're trying to shoot down these asteroids, and it's not fun. It's a bad sequence. It's a poorly realized, poorly executed sequence. So in this remake, they just deleted it. They got rid of that. And now you float out in space, you reactivate the turrets and you man them from there, but you keep your third person view and you aim and you shoot, and it turned what was a tedious, frustrating part of the game into a seamless addition that makes sense. Um, Another big change is actually color palette. So the original sticks with pretty much that same yellow green kind of tint throughout everything. And the remake, they did a very good job of differentiating different portions of the ship. The original, it's pretty much the same most of the way through. Part of that is hardware limitations. Part of that is they hadn't, it was their first game. They didn't really, I mean, not their first game ever, but you know what I mean? It's the first Dead Space
Yeah,
game. They hadn't really realized necessarily what they wanted, I think. And this one, they've got, a distinct color character to different areas and different parts of the game. And it really adds something extra, and they made it darker. Like when you have to go
really.
through, and choose, okay, I need to change this circuit breaker. Do I want lights, life support, and doors? You only have two. So you got lights, life support, and doors. You need to get the doors open. So do I want to keep the lights on, but also be suffocating? Or do I want to keep life support on and have everything be pitch fucking black? You know?
Yeah,
And
really,
that's
really clever.
That's a choice. And you have to sit there and be like, okay, what do I want to do? Because man, when they cut the lights off, you get
The deep
you get
blacks
this
are so
tiny
good,
little field of view from your plasma cutter. And
and
I'm
that's only
telling
if you're
you,
aiming. It's only if
exactly,
you're aiming.
exactly. And I'm telling you, it has to be something in the game where they amp up the volume when you kill the lights, kind of like in real life. When if you can't see, your hearing gets a little
Your
sharper.
sensory,
Yep.
yeah,
They amp up the volume and everything sounds like it is on top of you constantly. And you can't breathe because there's no air. And they suck everything out of there. It's just,
it's nerve wracking.
it is. It is. It adds a level of tension to a game that was already very tense. And with me, I'd gone through it so many times. I knew where most of the big scares would come, and they changed it up. I mean, some of the stuff's the same, obviously. The tentacle snaps through at the same point. But other things, spots where it's like distinct vents that you knew I'm gonna get blasted. Not the
Not this
same.
time. Yeah,
And it's not the same from run to run. It's somewhat randomized, I think. So you go through and maybe a vent that popped out and necromorphs came out last time, you just hear it this time and nothing. And having the vents malfunction and pop out on their own and make you think there's a necromorph behind you when there's not. Like they did such a good job of ratcheting up the tension and the unpredictability in the remake. So, I'll kind of tie into something else here, and this will kind of circuitously get us back to Resident Evil. So, a big inspiration for Dead Space is the movie Event Horizon, which I want to say is 97. Paul W.S. Anderson wrote and directed Event Horizon and then went on to do all the Resident Evil movies.
my God,
But Event Horizon is, I mean, I know they've talked about it, so I'm not just drawing conclusions. They've said it's a big inspiration, but you're on this ship out in the middle of space that is inadvertently opened a portal to hell. And the crew goes and responds to the distress call basically to figure out what happened, and it slowly makes everybody go mad. And it's a horror movie, but it was such a big movie for me growing up prior to ever playing Dead Space. So playing Dead Space, it was like, oh my god, it's the Event Horizon game that I never knew I wanted. And it's not a great movie. It's a Paul W.S. Anderson movie. So it's like a C movie, but to me, it's one of my absolute favorites. Like I love that movie. And if you like Dead Space, watch Event Horizon, Paul W.S. Anderson. I own multiple copies because they've released Scream Factory or Shout Factory's released several different like collector's editions over the
editions,
years. So I have a collector's edition Blu-ray. I have a regular copy. I've got a bootleg copy that I ripped forever ago because it wasn't available anywhere. I've got the 4K Steelbook. It's such a
nice.
good movie. It's such a bad movie, but such a good movie. Hi, baby.
Hey,
Dog.
I will never be a judge in that, and but I will give you bad news and let you know that I still have not watched that movie. And other podcast host, Legend Pop, gifted me a Blu-ray of it to
Of
watch
Event
one day.
Horizon?
Yeah, so I have to get to it.
Oh, so you've got work to do tonight.
Yeah, I gotta get on that.
Yes.
He's been pressing me too, so I'm sure if he hears this, he'll be like, "Really?" But he always makes me a list of things to watch, and I don't always get to it. So
Yeah.
I'm guilty for that. I tend
That's all
to
right.
stray on my way and do my own thing, but I
Yeah.
think we're all guilty of that. But yeah, man. So like overall, like this is the game that we hoped for, and then some. Would you say?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I had high hopes, high expectations, and they managed to, you know, exceed even that. I really love
Yeah.
it.
Was there anything that you didn't like so
Not
far?
yet. No, honestly, not a single thing that I have disliked so far. I
Okay.
have no complaints. And
And it,
performance on PC has been fantastic.
yeah, and I was gonna
NVIDIA
say for
DLSS has me running 4K 60 frames. I mean, obviously,
Nice.
it's not true native 4K. Anyone that knows how DLSS works, it's
Right.
super sampling and upscaling, but it looks gorgeous. I love it.
So I like to ask you, have you tweaked and played around with the different options, the quality and the performance
No,
options?
not really. No, most of
Okay,
the time I let NVIDIA do what it knows is going to be best, and it usually is.
got it. Okay. So that's something I did play around with. I'm playing it on PS5, so console difference, and you have your quality option, you have your performance option, and then you have your ability to turn the grain on and off. And I played around with them just to kind of see how it takes. Does it take you out of the game? And
Hmm.
I feel like certain games like this need the grain. They need that potential slower frame rate to kind of give it the movie vibe, but it works well on every single combination that I tried. I
Yeah,
tended to like appreciate a fresher look. I took the grain off for a little bit. Had it running at 60 frames. Just
those are
gorgeous.
those are my two big ones. Yeah, I always take and turn motion smoothing off. Um,
Yeah,
and I tell NVIDIA like, hey,
I don't
prefer
like this.
performance. Yeah, performance is required. I need at least 60.
Right. I mean, it runs well even at the 30 frame, mark. So, for a game like this that has seamless controls, that was a big thing for me. Like, I'm one of those guys that I feel like a game like this, I can't play with somebody like to watch because I'd get them sick because I move the camera so much.
Yeah,
And it's just something I do. I noticed it the other day. I'm just like I'm constantly, and I'm like that's also why his heart rate's going because I don't stop moving.
right.
But like it worked well in the 60 and the 30 frames. So I thought that that was great. I have read online that there are a lot of issues with the Xbox release. I
Mm.
actually saw a couple of posts. Like one guy opened up a door, and it was space.
Oh,
It was an uncompleted room, and he couldn't go out.
all
He
right.
just got stuck in a wall. And then somebody picked up a plasma cannon, and it wasn't in the inventory, and had to start over.
Yeah,
So obviously we're going to always have performance issues like that. We're fortunate enough to not have had to deal with those. Knock on wood that we don't
yeah.
at all. But was there anything else about the game that you wanted to discuss?
No, I don't think so. I think that about covers it for now. We'll have our written review up. I'm contributing to Benny as the primary reviewer. I'm going to give him my thoughts as someone who's played the game so many times back in the day and PC performance thoughts. But we should have a written review up here pretty soon.
Yeah, and just obviously full disclosure, EA was kind enough to provide us codes. They
Mhm.
provided me a PS5 code. They provided Tyler a PC code, so we can both try it, discuss it on the show, and
Yep.
obviously provide our written review. So stay tuned for that. I would say you should be seeing that this week, along with at the time of this being released as well. But we'll leave it short today.
Yeah.
We'll gradually come back with some new shows, and we're excited to be back and looking forward to having more of this.
Me
Anything else,
too.
Tyler?
No, I think that's it, buddy.
All right, everybody, have a great day. Appreciate your time as always. Take care and have fun.
Yep. See ya.